What's up, everyone? Welcome to Righteous Reflections with Raf, and Merry Christmas. And today, it's a special day because it's my 2 year anniversary of when I was going to take my life. So, this is my story. Hey, everyone, I'm Raf, 21 years old, and I was born in the Philippines, and in my early years, it was, I guess, pretty normal. But then when I was 6 years old, my family and we moved, abroad, and we lived there for 7 years. And, to be honest, that was one of the hardest things because, everything was flipped upside down. I was used to, living here with this culture, and then now living somewhere new, new environment, new place, new people. So, it was, it was tough at first. And especially because I didn't really have many friends growing up. I didn't really have many hobbies as well. So now that I have to find those things in a new place, like it just was hard. And this feeling of wanting to belong, wanting to be accepted, was really really loud during that time because I was with people from my friends, my classmates, my teachers. They were all from all over the world. So there was a lot of diversity. And, us, Filipinos, we tend to be just shy and, very humble and just kind of, so I was just trying to find my place and really just find love, you know? And, one of the things that I saw that I noticed was, sports and especially football. That's the biggest thing over there. And my friends, they invited me, they encouraged me to play and try out for the team. So I said, okay, let's do it. And then I had no experience at all. So, of course, I didn't get in that first year of tryouts. But then the second year, I still didn't get in. And then in that third year, I just really, I really wanted to be part of the gang. I really wanted to be part of the team, and I just, really wanted to belong. And that year, like that, from the second year to the third year, that's when I really went to work. Like in recess, in lunch, I played with my friends, and then when I get home, I play at home, and then during the summer, I did this football camp, and that's like what really took me to the next level. So the third year of tryouts came, and I finally got in. All my hard work paid off. Not only I I accepted in the team, but I was one of the first picks to be selected. So, you know, come on now. No, but that's when I realized that hard work is everything. That if you put your mind and if you believe in yourself, then you'll get to anywhere. So by trusting in yourself, by trusting in myself, I carried that mindset, throughout my whole life. So, football became everything to me. It's what allowed me to experience this love and acceptance from people, and for a while it's what gave me a purpose. So years went on, I was still playing, still training, and then in 2018 my family and we moved back to the Philippines. And of course I had to move schools and things like that. So I had to find that trying to be accepted and everything. I was still playing football, and then the pandemic came, but I still, with that work mindset, that I want to come back stronger, better than everyone. So even when there was no training, when everything was closed, I was just at home trying to work out, trying to practice, just do anything I can, every day just to take me to that next level. And there was a point where I wanted to just stop because I was tired and things like that. But no, I said no. This is what you gotta do. You gotta outwork everyone. You gotta be better. Not just for you, but it's all you know. It's all I knew. So then the season out of the pandemic came. Grade 12 UAAP came. So in my mind, I had put the work in the pandemic. So in my head, I was like, "Ah, this is my season. This is my team season. We're gonna win. We're gonna destroy everyone." So season came, and what I thought was gonna be the best season was actually the worst season. You know, um, it was just everything that I expected was just went down, and my performance, the team's performance, the team's chemistry, like it just went down and came crashing. We had such high hopes, and then it went down. And being one of the co-captains, I had the I felt I had the responsibility to shoulder, those problems of the team. And it broke my heart because this was supposed to be the biggest season. This was supposed to be my life's work. The pandemic's work. Everything that I had done had come down to this season. But even if I gave everything, still nowhere near where I wanted to be, nowhere near where the team needed to be. And it broke my heart. And it hurts, when you give your everything, but still doesn't work out. And that experience, that season, it scarred me because, man, like I had sacrificed so much, not just during that season, but my whole life just for football. So college came, and I, even though it was hard, I had to, I decided to just stop football because the pain was just too much. And I just felt that I just needed to let go. Even if it hurts, I just need to let go because whenever I think about it, whenever I step on the field, these memories just just come, and it was a lot. So there, I thought I felt, like a kind of freedom or a relief in that first semester of college. But then, you know, I thought I was just saying bye to football, but I was also saying bye to, my identity. Because my whole life it was football. It was that. I was a football player. Everything I did, everything I said, everything I thought about was that. But then now that that's gone, what am I left with? When the passion died, a part of me died as well. And now I was just, floating around, just trying to find, purpose, trying to find answers. So, naturally, with that work mindset, I tried to find things that would fill that hole in my heart. So I did that with grades. I did that with making new friends. I did that with going to the gym. Did that with, counseling. Did that with self-help. Everything. But when those things didn't work, then I turned to things that, I am not proud that I turned to. You know, I turned to, pornography and drinking, and, you know, developed some addictions, uh, and it didn't help. At this time that I felt the separation from my family and my best friend, because you know football, like I said, was one of the ways that I could be loved. I felt loved, could be seen. But now that that's gone, it's like I'm nobody again. I'm just, my 4 year old self, just, you know, looking around. And, I was going home to a house, but it didn't feel like a home. I was just, I was just there. And, I thought I could turn to my best friend, but, you know, some, form of betrayal happened. Some form of also broken relationships happened. And now I don't have anything. I don't have myself. I don't have people. I don't have family, friends, any hobbies. I don't have anything. I got mad at God. I questioned God. Oh God, why did things have to happen this way? You know, look at the things that I did for you. Look at how obedient I was. But why are you doing this to me? And I was, mad at God, to be honest. I even developed a resentment towards my family, towards my family, because it felt very conditional love, that only if I did this, then they'll love me. And you know, as many of you know, it's not a nice feeling. So you know, I had to carry all those things in that first semester. And you know, when the semester ended, it was Christmas break. So I had no school, no studying, no time with the friends, no nothing. I was just at home, just rotting, rotting away. And when I couldn't distract myself with anything, that darkness, that emptiness just grew. Everything, all the solutions that I was doing, it was just band-aid solutions. And I realized that this really is a problem, and I don't know who I can go to. I don't know what to do. And I always thought that I'm a strong person. I always thought I can do anything, right? That I believe in myself. But look at me. Look at what believing and trusting in myself has led me to. It has led me to be empty, lonely, in darkness. And it even made me fall into depression. I fell into depression, and things just got really, really bad. And Christmas Day is supposed to be the happiest, the best day, but for me, it was my last day. I couldn't take it anymore. You know, I'd be in my bed, just thinking like, oh, why did I do that? And then more moments would pass by, and then it's, oh, why did I say that this time ago? More moments would pass by, and then it's, oh, why am I even here? What am I doing? More moments would pass by, and then it's, man, I just want to leave. I just want to disappear. Straight up. Just have nothing else to live for anymore, you know? And, it would be like that every night, just spiral and spiral and spiral. And then tears would, you know, go down. But that Christmas night, um, I was letting out, bawling my eyes, one last cry before I ended all, you know. It wasn't a matter of when, but how. I was just picking my poison. I was looking at my options, how I would end myself, what things I have at home, what plans can I make? Do I want it to be low key, or do I want everyone to know? Do I make letters to people? Those things. So I was crying, and I look up to my table, and there was a Bible there, and I never read the Bible. It was just there, just for design, because I only read it for school requirements. But in that moment, I just remember telling God, God, if you're real, please help me. If you're real, please show me. So, I opened the Bible, just flipped to John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And I read a lot that night. I didn't even know what I was reading, but for the first time, for the first time, I felt a peace and the quiet in my heart. Everything was still. In the months of carrying all the burdens, all the struggles, it was just storms, storms and storms. But for some reason, when I started reading the Bible, everything just went quiet. And, my tears stopped. I don't know, I was even smiling. Um, and I knew that was God. I knew. And in that moment, in that night, Jesus saved my life. And, I wouldn't even be here right now if Jesus didn't save me. Like, thinking about it, like, these 2 years since then, like, so much has happened. And I can't imagine not being there to experience everything. And, God's just so good, man. Like, to be honest, I don't deserve, that saving, because, as a quiet person, right? We don't talk a lot here, but we talk a lot here. And, honestly, if you played my thoughts in a highlight reel, no one would like me. No one would listen to me. No one, I wouldn't have friends. And in my head, it's just, I'm just judging everyone, thinking I'm better than them. And, you know, came to the point, and I realized that, wow, I am just like the Pharisees, who think they're good, but they miss out on God. They miss out on who Jesus really is. And in that work mentality that I had, I applied that to everything in my life, even with God. So I thought that I was trying to earn my way to heaven. God, look at me. Look at what I did. Look at this that I did. God, are you happy with me? God, are you proud of me? Look at what I did. But, I learned that it's not about what we can do for God. It's not about us dying for God, but it's about what God did for us. And it's that God died for us, you know? Shortly after Jesus saved me, I, on my YouTube page, encountered, my pastor. And, I, it was his testimony. And ever since, I've just been following him, learning from him. And, he said that in life, people tell you to just go, 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 right? But no one ever tells us to stop, right? For us athletes, we're always taught to have the fast first step, the fast acceleration, but we're not really taught to slow down and stop in a second. And that's where most injuries happen. So, he said that, he could be the coach for me, right? The coach in terms of spiritual life. He can be the brake in the car. So, no, I just kept following him, just listened and learned from him. And, he explained many things. And I've learned many things. If you ask anyone, what's sin? They'll say, oh, it's doing something bad. It's doing evil. But, sin is two things. Sin is trusting and believing in yourself above God, and it's inherited. So, if you think, if you think of me, right? I'm Filipino. Why? Because my parents were Filipino. So whether I liked it or not, I inherited that from them. So now, whether I eat a lot of adobo or just a little adobo, does that change me being Filipino? No. Whether I eat a lot of it or a little, I'm still Filipino regardless. So in the same way, whether you sin more or you sin less, you're what at the core? You're a sinner, right? Because we're born that way. So we're here imperfect people trying to produce perfect results. No wonder we fail. We're destined to fail. Because when you look at an apple seed, right? Apple seed, it grows into a tree. It's only going to produce apples. So with us, we're born to sin, right? We're this little sin seed. Then we grow into this sin tree. That's all we're gonna produce. So no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, you cannot do it on your own, right? You can sure get to a certain level, but you'll only be maintaining. You won't be striving. So in the same way, if I'm drowning, trying to work, trying to swim in my own effort, but I can't, somebody needs to pull me out. And that's the lifeguard, right? The lifeguard is the one that pulls us out. So in the same way, this is exactly why Jesus died for us on the cross. We always hear, Jesus died for you, but what does that actually mean? It means that though we were born in sin because of Adam, and we inherited it, on the cross, Jesus became the most sinful man in the world. Not because he committed sin, but because he took all of our sin. We all have a spiritual debt, right? We have a debt, and that's sin. And the price for that is death, to die. Because of our sin, we must die. So Jesus took my sins, past, present, future, laid it on him. Jesus took your sins, past, present, and future, laid it on him. So that when he died, those sins died with him too. And then he resurrected. So now that he took all our sin, are we still sinners? If somebody paid for my debt, do I still have debt? No. I'm debt free. So because Jesus died for us, we're washed clean. We're made righteous, holy, and perfect. And where do righteous, holy, and perfect people go to? They go to heaven. And this is the gospel. This is what set me free. All my life I thought that, Raf, you have to work, you have to do everything, you have to trust yourself, you have to believe in yourself. But Jesus says to trust Him, to follow Him, that He is the source, He is the light, not us. So my eyes shifted from looking at myself to now looking on God. And, when I realized that, yeah, me doing these evil things, that's just a product of the real sickness, of the root, and that's the sin. But praise God, Jesus died for us for that reason, because He knows that we're only going to do evil. But through Him, peace, joy, love, hope, and everything else that follows. And this hole in my heart, this hole that I had in my heart, I thought nothing could fill it up. I thought no band-aid, no stitching could fix it. But that's because it's in the shape of Jesus. It's a heart, it's a Jesus-shaped hole that only He can fill. That only He can fill. We all go through struggles. We all understand, emptiness, loneliness, darkness, struggles, depression. And how selfish would I have to be if I don't give that to you? I have the cure, and if I don't give it to you, how selfish would I be? But here it is. Here it is. And, my story with it. Because I don't have to prove myself anymore. I don't have to try to earn approval. Because Jesus has already approved me. Jesus has already chosen all of us. And, at times I'd be reminded of my past or the things that I've done. But it literally says in the Bible that God doesn't remember your sins. Hebrews 10:17. And you can either keep trusting yourself, keep trusting your thoughts, keep believing in yourself, or you can trust God, trust the Word that never changes. And that is what has kept me here, still sane, thriving, because of God, by His grace. On the other side of darkness is a light that's waiting for all of us. Jesus gives us a choice. We can choose to accept Him or not. But no matter what our decision is, He still died for us, knowing that we might never choose Him. It's hard enough dying for a good person, but imagine dying for a rotten and evil person. God dying for a person like me. Wow. It's just, truly, I don't deserve anything. And me sharing this story, it's not even me. I cannot take credit for that. It's truly all God. I didn't want this life. I didn't want to be, praying, reading, sharing these videos, these stories, but God didn't save me just to be in my comfort zone. God didn't save me just to save myself. God saved me so that through my story, people can be saved too and hear of God's goodness and God's love. And I'm just living proof of that. And that all the people I've met, everything I've done in the last 2 years, if God didn't save me, you can forget it. But God's not finished with you. His work on the cross was finished. But in your story, He's not finished with you. And that He has plans for you. And whether you see, whether you understand, whether you doubt, whether you have faith or not, God is working. It says in the Bible that He doesn't sleep nor slumber. And that means He's working. all the time, all the time. But, our eyes deceive us, yet God's word stays true. And, all I can say is praise to God, because not only has He given me this peace and this happiness and hope, but He's also transformed the people and the relationships around me. With my family, my best friend, with football. Truly, truly, He has healed. Truly, He has given double. God doesn't waste pain. And He always uses pain for a purpose. Your pain is not for nothing. God is still writing your story. And whether you go left or right, God is with you wherever you go. Joshua 1 verse 9. Merry Christmas, and thank you for listening to my story. And God be with you all. Peace.